So how much fun is it to finally get the chance to go on the road and not only see a new school and a new facility and a new program, but to actually play on the road rather than here at Bridgeforth?
I think it's gonna be real cool to, especially going to an environment where they love football as much as JMU. They're gonna have a sold out crowd, a real hostile environment. I really like to engage, like when I was injured, a lot of the time I was like keeping up with what fans were saying because I kind of was a fan and stuff. So yeah, I'm still like following some of the same accounts. So it's kind of fun to see the fans go at it and stuff like that. And it definitely gives you motivation when you're playing in front of someone else's crowd and you know that they're like going against you. It gives you a different level of motivation to just silence them and go after them. So I think it's gonna be real exciting.
I asked Nick, so I'll ask you, what do you do when you're on planes and buses and stuff going on these trips?
Most of the time, I'm really just probably watching a movie or a TV show on Netflix. That's pretty much mostly what I do. I usually don't sleep on the way there. I mostly sleep on the way back. But yeah, it's mostly just watching Netflix, listening to music sometimes. That's pretty much it.
And I'll steal Maddie's follow-up question is, what shows do you watch and what music do you listen to?
What shows do I watch? Okay, so last season, I was watching a lot of Law and Order SVU. What else was I watching? I was watching Criminal Minds too. And then in terms of music, I listen to a lot of Rod Wave, Lil Uzi, Lil Baby, stuff like that on the bus. Yeah.
You guys as a defense have held teams to 20 yards of rushing the whole year, and now you're going to face a team that's got a lot of good running backs. What kind of challenge does App State pose as a running team?
They have big physical O linemen, and they like to get out fast on the edge, so that could bring a lot of challenges in terms of gaps. When a team is running that fast on like outside zones and stuff like that, it kind of creates little holes in the defense if you don't fill your gaps correctly, and if you don't set the edge well and make running backs cut up, they can really just gas you for a lot of yards on one misfit by a linebacker, one misfit by a lineman or safety. So that creates a scenario where you have to be really disciplined and gap disciplined and where you're supposed to fit and not try and do too much because you might end up messing with the whole flow of the entire defense. So that's what poses a big challenge for most teams, having to be extremely gap sound against them.
And if you could describe their offense in a few words, what would you use?
Damn, that's hard. Their offense in a few words. I would say, in terms of their what they do, or in terms of their personality, or their personality. I'd say they're really gritty. When you watch film, the offensive lineman really gets after you, and they'll hit you during the whistle, before the whistle, sometimes after the whistle. So I'd say really gritty, physical, really trying to dominate you at the line of scrimmage. They're not really a finesse type of team. They're really trying to go at you. So that's what I would say.
I know when we talked at Media Day, you told me that this whole Sunbelt move won't feel real until you're in Boone in a real Sunbelt environment when you're finally on the field in a hostile stadium. I guess, is it inching close? Do you kind of feel it's 5 days, 4 days? Is that kind of, do you feel that?
Definitely, I'm definitely hyped for the game. I'm really excited to play against Appalachian State and then it just be a part of the Sun Belt fully, playing in the Sun Belt. I feel like it's going to be really cool for JMU, especially as for moving forward for years to come and this year as well. So I'm definitely really excited to play in the Sun Belt.
I know App's been able to sustain a lot of really long drives on offense. I think the last 2 games they have 4 drives over 7 minutes, and you guys haven't faced a drive longer than 4 minutes against Norfolk State. I guess, what have they maybe been able to do well to sustain those drives, and what do you guys need to do to maybe get off the field?
I would say what they've been able to do well is just lean on people. When even though they're doing more of a quick outside type of zone running scheme, they're still playing with the physicality of a gap scheme type of thing where you can get 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. And when you do that, that's really going to start bleeding away the clock, and people are going to start getting tired. And once people get tired, that's when it's really over. I think what we can do is try and get them back on early downs, not allowing them to get 3-4 yards on first down, because that'll set them up for their entire playbook to really be open. So I feel like getting them off schedule, getting them on 3rd and longs and those type of situations would be our best bet. And then if they do happen to sustain a longer drive, that's where our depth comes into play, where we can sub in some guys to give some guys a breather and then have fresh legs to go at it.
Yeah, you kind of just hit on it, I guess. Like, is there maybe an added emphasis this week in, rotating in guys and out, in and out, and keeping guys fresh because you guys haven't, been on the field maybe as long as you might be on the field on Saturday?
Yeah, definitely. There's always been an emphasis on rotating guys. We just really haven't had an opportunity to rotate guys with a lot of 3-and-outs, 4-and-outs, and stuff like that. But we're definitely continuing to have that emphasis in practice, making sure that everyone knows exactly where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing at every situation. But we'll see how it goes and see if we end up having to rotate people in or whether we can really stand our ground and stop them from sustaining those long drives. But yeah.
You talk about their offensive line, being really physical. How key in this game is, line play and kind of winning the line of scrimmage?
I think it's very key because that's where the game is won and lost, really, on the line of scrimmage. And if you can dominate the line of scrimmage, most times you can win the game, offensively and defensively. So I feel like our offensive line and our defensive line is going to be where this game is won. I know that's kind of cliche, but if you really watch film, the teams that give them the most issues is when the defensive line is really getting after it. So I feel like that's something we got to try and hone in on and take really personally this week.
Isaac, who's taking charge on the field as far as the communications right now? Obviously, you're getting calls in from the sideline, but in terms of who's the leader with the communication, particularly when you've got to get ready for a team like this that is going to run a fast offense?
I would say it's really the linebackers, TJ and Jaywalk. They're the ones who are really orchestrating the defense, like setting the fronts and making sure we have the correct checks and stuff like that. They really know. We have a lot of checks on our defense, so I really commemorate them for their ability to get us in the right position because all I do is just listen to them, and when they call it, I just run it. But they have to actually read the formations, backfield sets, and stuff like that and call the plays. So they've been really doing a really good job of that. So, yeah, it's really TJ and Jaywalk who are really in charge of that.
A little birdie told me possibly that you've seen the new uniforms. So maybe not a description, but what are your feelings about them, and I guess what can fans expect?
You can expect white. Yeah.
And second question is, JMU's not new to national media, but maybe this year you guys are getting a little bit more spotlight now in the FBS. And you kind of talked about this earlier with looking at tweets from App State and the old accounts you follow. Do you guys hear any extra noise within the locker room or like personally? And then do you maybe block that out or use that as fuel for yourself?
Not necessarily extra noise in the locker room like coming from us, but I would say like you definitely see little things on Twitter and stuff and Instagram, like just people talking. Like I remember I saw College Game Day was reminiscing about when they came to JMU and stuff like that. Just little tweets of more bigger media personalities talking about JMU versus App State, and that's always exciting. I've never seen media as like a distraction for me because I just enjoy seeing what people think and stuff like that. So it's definitely been cool to be more in the spotlight and have people actually watching JMU, and it adds pressure that I welcome because it helps me play better.
So App State's coming off of 2 really big and really important wins for them, and you guys are coming off of 2 wins that one of them I don't think a lot of people kind of expected with Middle Tennessee. Does it feel like either team has something to prove going into this game?
I would say both teams have something to prove. I feel like at this point in the season, some teams have played 2 games. I don't know how many teams have had a bye week already, but we played 2 games. Most teams played 3 games. So it's still in the first quarter of the season. So a lot of teams still have something to prove, especially since conference play is just now really starting. So there's always something to prove. No matter how good you were last year, it doesn't really matter because you haven't played this year. So even though they've been in the Sun Belt and they've been a good team, they still have to prove that they are still a good team. Just like how even though we've been good in the FCS, we still have to prove that we are good in the FBS or in the Sun Belt. So every team I feel like has something to prove.
And then a lot of people talked about how App State is a pretty hostile environment. They get loud. It's a sold-out crowd. You are one of the players that have had experience in Fargo, experiencing the Fargo Dome, and seeing what West Virginia was like and things like that. Knowing that you've seen what some of these larger stadiums and the noise level that they can bring, how do you as a leader kind of translate what younger guys should expect?
In terms of the defense, it's kind of weird because the defense is actually kind of quiet, so it doesn't really – I wouldn't say it really affects us as much negatively. It's more of like a change from a positive to a neutral because when you're here, you have the noise, so it makes it a positive. But when you're away, it's not really a negative because it's quiet. So it's kind of like a neutral type of situation. So I think it's more on the offense getting used to not having the fans on their side. The fans are more screaming when they're on offense and having to communicate better. So in terms of the defense, it's pretty much business as usual.
What have you seen from a guy like, Chase Brice, leading their offense? Like, what have you seen from him on film? Yeah.
I mean, he's a good leader. You can see it on there that they really rally behind him. Especially, like, you can see that he'll fight for it when you see a quarterback who's willing to tuck and run and go for a first down or hang in the pocket and deliver a big throw even though he knows he's going to get hit. That's, like, what I see from him. And then also he knows when to he can escape the pocket when he needs to. He can sit in there when he needs to. He's really a good quarterback, definitely a veteran quarterback. You can see it in the way he plays. So it's going to be really exciting to go against a guy like that.
Coach talked a lot about the tight ends of App in the run game. They're kind of one of the unsung heroes that has been able to kind of catalyze their run game. What have you kind of seen from App's tight ends?
Yeah, they're definitely good blocking tight ends, and that really helps with an offense because it's almost having extra O linemen on the field, but then you also have that passing element that you can have as well. But the tight ends present a different type of body type, like a little quicker than offensive linemen, obviously, and then they can also have the strength to try and kick you out, come backside, and come across the line of scrimmage and kick you out and stuff like that. And they just add another element when you have tight ends that can block defensive ends and stuff like that.
And what does it maybe say about the depth of the Sun Belt? How App State can go down Texas A&M, knock off the number 6 team in the country, but then they come back and Troy gives them a run for their money down to the wire. Needed a Hail Mary to win that. What does it say about the depth of this league?
It really just it says that the depth is really good. Obviously, any team can come in and beat you, no matter what their record is, no matter how they did in a previous season, and that makes it really exciting because you don't want to get complacent or get bored, and when you know you can beat a team. But in the Sun Belt, that's not the case. Any team can come in and whoop you. So I think it creates a different sense of urgency, a different sense of accountability, and avoiding complacency when you're in practice every day and going at it.